we at KPFT have a special thing that people in the mainstream media stay away from, and that is we love to do what the people really need to hear, want to hear. But again, it's a matter of it's difficult, and that's why we do what we do. Sandy, that's why we do what we do. And in fact, the subject that I'm going to cover today, it is something that you're not going to hear in that light on mainstream media, but something that we all should know before we go out there and vote. Hey, I see Howard behind you. Howard, thank you for all that you do out here, my brother. I know he can't hear me, but just want to give him a thank you on the air, because we have a lot of great people, as you said, Sandy, that are out here busting their butts, and we ask people for it. But if you have anything else to say before I jump into the subject,
just Corey came down today, a new volunteer, and he's kind of standing in the back of the studio watching what's going on, and it's really good that people are stepping up out of our community to help with this, because Lord knows, as we expand our schedule, we're going to need more and more help. I'm talking about the live schedule.
Absolutely.
Right now, we're 8 a.m. to 8 p.m., soon to be morphed into 9 p.m., and then further out into 11 p.m. as we can do it. And it's a matter of having enough folks that are trained on the board, like Stuart, enough folks answering the phones, like Tori, and enough folks stepping up to learn both, like Corey. So here you go, community media at its finest. And I appreciate everybody out there in the volunteer community, those that serve on our governance structure and those that donate, and hoping to count you amongst them today. 713-526-5738. Push 1 to donate, or kpft.org. Please do your part. Thanks, Egberto.
Thank you very much, Sandy. Okay, folks, today's subject, and again, this is important. The title of the show today is "The China-Taiwan Conflict is a Local Issue Created by Unpatriotic Corporations. It's Profit Over Country." And I know you hear the cliche day after day, corporate profit and all of that, so much that you get tired of hearing it. Oh, can we ever change it? Can we ever make a difference? And the answer, of course, is yes, but we have to vote not in one election, not in 2 elections. It's continuously, but more than voting, we have to be aware of what's going on. Today I got up in the morning, started writing my blogs, and had Morning Joe on. And I love Morning Joe. Joe is a conservative guy that had really seen the light. He's still a conservative, but he has seen the light. And for him, as well as others, it's now country over profit. And, he's married to a very progressive young woman. And the two of them make a great show because, she pulls out his inner progressives every so often. But here's what got to me today. They started talking about China. China just is in the process of re-electing their president, okay? And prime minister. And he's going to get re-elected for the 3rd time. They changed the rules so that if he wants to run forever, he can run forever. And now people in the United States, the government, they're going crazy here. This guy comes out, and one of the first things he says he wants to do is he wants to take Taiwan back. And, we have this one China policy, which means we recognize Taiwan sort of, kind of, as being a part of China, but being an independent sort of, kind of Taiwan. But here's what we've done, what our corporations have done. America is the bastion of innovation. There's no doubt about it. People come to America to innovate. I'm original from Central America. This country promotes innovation. There's absolutely no doubt about it. But after innovations comes something very important, and that is manufacturing, turning your product into something, turning your service into something. And that's what we used to do very often, very well here in the United States of America. But suddenly, when our corporations stopped being the bastions of engineering, where engineers had all the say, were the bastions of scientists, where scientists really had the say, etc. We had the bean counters under the hood from great economists like Milton Friedman, who told them, you no longer have a responsibility to the United States. You don't have a responsibility to the people. You don't have a responsibility to anybody but yourself and the shareholders. We are going to make profits for the people at all costs. You don't have to think about social issues. You don't have to think about global warming. You don't have to think about anything other than making money for those who you work for, the shareholders. To hell with everybody else. That's what's preached. Now, what did that mean? We developed all kinds of semiconductors within our great universities and the great engineers and scientists from our universities that went to the likes of Intel's and Amadal and all these other corporations. They went and they supported American innovation in these places. And the bean counter said, wait a minute, we can even make some more money. We're manufacturing these things in Intel and Palo Alto and all these other places, but we can do better. We can go ahead and go overseas and get slave labor or cheap labor, and we can invest in places that don't care about polluting their rivers, etc., when they're building your silicon and all these other things. That's what they said. And in the process of doing that, we moved a lot of our semiconductor manufacturing, that's in the CPU in your car, meaning the central processing units in your car, which are computers, the central processing units in your stove, in your refrigerator, in your washing machine, in your air conditioner. All these devices now have computers in them. And all those great computer chips designed in the United States are manufactured outside of the United States. And in the process of being manufactured outside the United States, it means that we are at the whim of several things. One, we're at the whim at the country that manufactures the product. We're at the whim of the country who wants to invade the country that's manufacturing the product. And we are at the whim of hurricanes and environmental issues that we ourselves created because, again, corporations care about nothing but making some money. That's all it's all about. So therefore, what is the solution? But I first should say, what is the problem? The problem that's right on our backyards is inflation. And we see inflation and everybody's going to the grocery stores and they're seeing these high prices, and they go to they go to the gas station and they see these high prices, and they go to buy their next stereo and they see the high prices, and then they say, oh, Biden did that. They're creating inflation. They're terrorizing our economy. When the entities that have always been responsible for all of these are those that are maximizing their profits at all costs. These corporations that put their monies overseas. These corporations that says, I can charge you whatever I want to charge you because I have pricing power and you don't. Remember, we used to believe that pricing was based on what again? Supply and demand. That's what we thought. That's what they taught us. That's what I learned in Economics 101. So here we have corporations that decide to offshore and all our semiconductors overseas, etc. And then we have China who says, hey guys, we want to take back Taiwan. And then Biden and all the American politicians are now saying, you can't do that. You can't do that. And China says, try to stop me, baby. Try to stop me. You're going to bomb me? You bomb me, you're bombing your own semiconductor manufacturing entity. All those CPUs have to come overseas. You know, what are you going to do? You're behind a wall and a hard place, not created by your government, but created by the corporations too many people are holding water for. Where did patriotism come in? When did they ever say we better be able to manufacture the products that we use? You know, everybody always talk about, oh, they're just dumping stuff to be manufactured overseas, you know, but they don't really see the deeper problem. The deeper problem is not only of unemployed Americans, lower paid Americans, because somebody is willing to build all these things cheaper. That's not what the issue is. The issue is suddenly the immigrants at the border is not an existential problem to America. The problems that you see with healthcare, that's existential. The problems that you see not being able to bring microcontrollers into this country, that's existential, because all the great innovations that we've created here cannot be materialized unless Taiwan says, hey, we're going to send those chips there. And if Taiwan is China, China says, well, you know, we're not going to do that quite well. And then people have said, but they need our market. They need us as consumers. We are the biggest consumers on the market. Not anymore. Because, you know, while we were fighting wars, what China was doing? China was in Africa. China was helping Nairobi, Kenya. China was helping South Africa. China was helping all these other countries build roads. Were they doing it because they're nice? No, they weren't. They're smart. They are creating goodwill throughout Africa, throughout South America, throughout Central America, throughout the Caribbean. So you go ahead and try to say, all right, we are going to create an embargo against China. China laughs. Who's going to give up all the work that we've been doing in China while you were fighting wars in Ukraine, in Afghanistan, in Iraq, in helping Saudi Arabia, in Yemen? You were fighting wars. You were supplying money to your defense industrial complex while we were building relationships. Meaning China was building relationships. We were destroying relationships. Folks, China-Taiwan deal is a bigger problem waiting to slam us than you've ever thought about. And when you hear supply chain, it's not only semiconductors, but it is this sort of behavior by our corporations that is repeated over and over again. Folks, call 713. If you want to talk about this, 713-526-5738. Again, that number is 713-526-5738. But more importantly, or not more importantly, but importantly as well, we do need your support. We do need your contributions. So to keep this sort of narrative alive, to help us make sure to be able to tell the true story that no one wants to talk about, 713-526-5738. It looks like I have a James Clayson to thank right now. James Clayson, thank you so kindly for your kind contribution on for Politics Done Right on KPFT, as well as Stan, that's Stan Mays. Thank you so kindly for your contribution, Stan Mays, to Politics Done Right. We cannot do this without you at all. Stan is new. I love it. And James is existing, repeating member. Thank you for all that you guys are doing. Folks, we need a lot more callers to get to the goal that we've been talking about. 713. We're going to continue this conversation. We have a lot more to talk about on this issue, but I'm taking a pause here to do some pitching. 713-526-5738. Please hit the number 1 to contribute. The number 2, if you want to say something to me on air, we'll put you on air as you call 713-526-5738. Once again, 713-526-5738. Hey, let's see what we got here. Come on in, my brother. This is Stuart.
Yeah,
folks.
Egberto, what I was going to say is press 1 to donate and press 2 to go directly to the studio, and we'll get you on the air with Egberto.
Thank you so kindly, Stuart. Anyway, Stuart, we have 2 great contributors so far, Stan and James. I want to give them a thank you, and I know the studio really thanks you for what you're doing here, folks. But you know what? I'm gonna do a little plug-in of 3 of my books here. I'm going to give me about 2 minutes to do this. And the reason I want to do this is all of this stuff that you hear me talk about when it comes to our economy, when it comes to talking to our brothers and sisters or neighbors, whoever, whatever ideology they are. I really don't care, really. I just want to engage people. I have books that cover how we do that, as well as, when we engage people, why do we engage them and what do we have as an outcome, a solution? So here's a quick pitch, and bear with me 1 second as I do this. I promise you, this isn't self-serving. This is raising money for our great station here. Joe Keithley, thank you so kindly for your contribution. All right, folks, here's the deal. As I see it, class warfare. You hear me talk about you heard me earlier talk about China and the unpatriotic corporations that just profit from what they see over there in China, right? I cover in my book, As I See It, Class Warfare, the Only Resort to Right-Wing Doom. This book covers an easy to understand way of handling, of talking about our economy, about learning about our economy, how patents have messed up farmers, how patents have done a lot of things to hurt us. It also talks about the profit, the supply, demand, profit, and all these issues, the Laffer curve that makes no sense, but that Republicans continue to harp on as far as lowering taxes, create more economic activity. It's a lie. And we explain all of those things as to why those are not true. As I See It, Class Warfare, the Only Resort to Right-Wing Doom, for $120 contribution, please consider doing that for our great station here, 713-526-5738. As I see it, class warfare, the only resort to right-wing doom is a $120 contribution. The second book, it's worth it. How to talk to your right-wing relative friends and neighbors. And the cover of that book is a bridge. And the reason I put a bridge there is we want to bridge communications between people. We want folks to talk to each other. Don't hate your Trumpist neighbor. Don't hate your Trumpist family. Don't hate your crazy liberal, whatever. Engage them. As Tori was mentioning earlier, the back and forth can be fruitful for all sides. It's worth it. How to talk to your right-wing relative friends and neighbors. It's also a $120 contribution to KPFT. And if the third book is called How to Make America Utopia, Take Away the Economy from Those Who Rigged It, those unpatriotic corporations who rigged it. Why? What am I talking about? If you're gonna learn about get your learning experience up, and after you get your learning experience up, you are able to find a way to talk to everyone, your right-wing neighbors, your left-wing neighbors, your moderate neighbors, your anarchist neighbor. The next question comes, you talk. But what are the solutions? What are we going to do? In How to Make America Utopia, we talk a lot about that. We want to have an economy that works for everybody. We want to make sure that when you get sick, you don't have to go into a panic because you don't know if you're going to be able to afford your healthcare, or if you go to a healthcare, you're going to lose your house for it. And we talk about how do we engage creating doctors that are going to be there, that they're so poor now that they have to charge us crazy fees, right? I told you my dentist stories a few weeks ago. Why do we need education free for everybody? And when I say free, I mean pay it forward education. What does that mean? It means if we get Americans educated, right? It means that their benefit to our society as a whole going forward will be paid back orders of magnitude later because of their increase in pay that they will get. And when I say education, I don't necessarily mean going to college, to Harvard or whatever. I mean getting a skill that allows added value to the services and the products we produce. And if we do that, in other words, let's just use an example. Somebody that never had a prospect learned a little something, how to create his own cart, that he goes to City Hall and he sell hot dogs and he understands how business work, that he can profit and be self-sufficient on that. Isn't that a great thing? So we talk about wanting, a utopia for America. When I say utopia, I don't mean something that is really not attainable. I mean everything that's attainable. What we have in America right now is a system that takes your money away. And I'm going to explain that a little bit after I'm done with the China deal. That takes your money away because they can. They take your money away because they can. And in the process of doing that, hurt us all. 713-526-5738. Again, that number is 713-526-5738. I'm only a quarter to my goal. Could you please give us a call at 713-526-5738? Let's go ahead and make a difference. Keep us on the air. Allow us to, and by the way, you're hearing the show now. This show will be podcasted elsewhere. So you are helping promote truth. Not only the duration of time that we're here on air, but we in this studio now are ensuring that all our programs, etc., gets wide distribution. 713-526-5738. Be a part of the solution. Make sure that we get the job done. And again, like I said, the reason I pointed out Stuart and Tori and Corey and Sandy and Howard is all these folks are in this building, making sure we get a programs, not a show, several programs together so that we can enlighten our community with things that are not said on MSNBC, ABC, CBS, NBC, and all these other channels. And the reason they're not going to tell you these things is not that they're bad people. It's just that they cannot slap the hands that feed them. They cannot bite the hand that feed them. So they don't have the wherewithal to tell you that the drugs that they're advertising on their channels are really made by us and should never be charged at the prices that they charge, right? So we have to be cognizant of all these issues. And that's why we must have a KPFT. So every contribution you give to keep a station like this, a 100,000 watt station that reaches all the way to Conroe, Galveston, Flatonia, all these areas in Southeast Texas, with our 100 watts transmitter that Sandy just told you takes $50,000 a month to keep this studio open. Sandy was being generous. When he told me that number, I said, Sandy, 50,000? He said, yes. I mean, does that mean that that's 50,000 without you getting a manager's salary working here on a volunteer basis? Is that what that means? And he said, yes, Egberto. And I said, does that also mean that we have all these programmers coming in that are, that we just hope can continue to work on a volunteer basis? Yes, Egberto, that's what I mean. 713-526-5738. Look, we are here not wanting. We are here doing a necessary job. Everybody talk about democracy in trouble. That China story that I just talked about, that should scare us all to death, because it is almost seeing a train wreck before it happens. It is almost seeing you lose power because the few people that controls corporations didn't have the dignity to think country first, to think that this country gave them the wherewithal to have the billions that they make, and now it may be squandered because you know what? We don't have any cards to play. When Saudi Arabia said, I'm going to just take 2 million barrels of oil off the market, we could raise hell, but they don't care, because Saudi Arabia know how impotent we are. You know why? Oh, stop selling those military equipment to Saudi now that they didn't take our side. Well, you know what? The defense industrial complex is going to tell the neoliberals in Congress, oh, no, they've been our friends. You can't stop selling arms to them because then we don't get paid. Corporations believe, too many of these corporations, it's profit over country. China stops TMSO. Oh, I better look up that. I wrote it down because I knew I was going to say it wrong. TSMC stands for the Taiwan Semiconductor Manufacturing Company. That company makes all the most innovative chips designed in America, is made in that huge, humongous, multi-billion corporation in Taiwan that's funded by the Taiwanese government partly. They make all our most innovative, our most advanced chips, using our missiles, in NASA, used everywhere else, not manufactured in the United States. And China is talking about, we already have a one China policy. We want to take back Taiwan. And when that occurs, we are held hostage because our American corporations decided that they didn't want to pay bona fide American citizens in Ohio, Wisconsin, Arizona, Montana, and all these other places. They didn't want to pay those guys a living wage, so they'll manufacture overseas. How patriotic. And then when you go to the voting booth, they want to make progressives look like somehow they're the ones that are un-Americans. They're the ones that don't really support policies that Americans want. The bait and switch is pathetic. But more pathetic is that we don't have a mainstream media that's out there telling the people the truth. They're sitting down there. Oh, they want to take your job. Those immigrants are coming to take your jobs. I'm saying, open the door. We need more immigrants. Those tomatoes are rotten in the field. 713-526-5738. Again, that number is 713-526-5738. Time to register to vote is over. So what we have to depend on is that those who are registered to vote actually go out there and vote. But I don't want you to only go out there and vote. If you're a Republican, if you're a Democrat, if you're an independent, if you're an anarchist, I don't care who you are. The only thing I want you to do is to go out there and make an informed vote and to vote your interest. If you vote your interest, I have nothing to fear about who will control Congress. I have nothing to fear about who will control the Senate because you would have been voting your interest. 713-526-5738. I'd love to hear for somebody either calling up and making another contribution or come on in and let's see, go ahead and talk to me on the line. But right now, Tori, can you hear me at all or what? Talk to me, Tori. I want to hear your thoughts because you're very well educated in the international domain. Your thoughts on what China and Taiwan v. America semiconductor means.
Well, Egberto, I'm glad you asked. I have a very different take on China.
Mm-hmm.
When China goes into Africa and other places and
Mm-hmm.
builds roads, I look at it as pretty much the same as the neoliberal
Mm-hmm.
structural readjustment. I mean, these other countries are putting up their patrimony as collateral for these projects. And when they default on their loans, China takes over all kind of resources.
Can I interrupt you one quick second, Tori?
Uh-huh.
Because first of all, by the way, you are absolutely right. I agree with you. And my statement wasn't a moral statement. Notice what I said is they were establishing goodwill. So for anybody listening to what Tori had to say, Egberto is in complete agreement and alignment with Tori. Continue, please, sir.
Yeah. What they're doing in one country is an example of what they're doing in Africa. In Venezuela, they're going in and building access roads into national parks, rainforests, and Indian reserves. Native peoples in South American native peoples in Venezuela, and for gold mining. And they're doing the worst kind of gold mining, things that are not legal in the U.S. They're poisoning all the water table with the runoff from the mercury. And so
Tori,
China's a bad actor.
Tori, can you corroborate as well that we did the same thing in Ecuador, Peru as well? In other words, we only care about we only sort of kind of care about the environment.
Well, that's the point, is that China is just another dirty imperialist country like the United States.
Right. So what I'm trying to get across here is where we have lost we have lost any leverage whatsoever because they are actually playing the game that we played years ago with carry a big stick and these other things, right?
Yeah. I mean, and it's not just the CCP, the Communist Party of China. It goes way back. I mean, the imperialism of China. I mean, the people of Vietnam, have a very dim view of China. It was, for 1,000 years or something.
Right.
China was dominating Vietnam the way it now dominates Tibet, dominates the Uyghur Western areas of China. And, they're big bully boys when it comes to their fishing fleets, all the way over to Chile, not just in the Philippines and other places where these tiny little fishing crews are getting bullied by these giant Chinese boats that are armed. They're going as far over as the Chilean fishing waters off the coast of South America, and they're doing the worst kind of fishing, which just destroys the ecosystem.
Absolutely. So now, like I said earlier, I don't want anybody to think I was making a moral statement with respect to China at all, because what Tori just said there is the absolute truth of what's going on. But it's important for us to know, back to patriotism, the United States and the people of the United States. Our actions over the last several decades as we outsourced absolutely everything hurts us as a people. Forget about the corps, forget about the nationalities, etc. They actually hurt us. 713-526-5738. Again, that number is 713-526-5738. Just like Tori had his thoughts, I'd love to hear your thoughts as well. 713-526-5738. Hit the number 2 if you want to speak to me. Hit the number 1 to contribute. And I'd just like to say I haven't gotten a contribution in over 10 minutes, and I only have about 22 more minutes to go. So please give us a call now. While I'll do a little bit of pitching right now before I get back into the subject of inflation. 713-526-5738. Again, that number is 713-526-5738. Go ahead in the next 2 and 3 minutes. Please go ahead as I pitch to provide us with the necessary contributions and necessary support to keep this program and our station alive. 713-526-5738. Una vez más, 713-526-5738. Come on, folks, give me a call. Mira, amigos, quieren tener a KPFT aquí en la línea, tienes que llamarnos 713-526-5738, por favor, 573. Come on, folks, we need to hear from you. We don't hear from you, we don't stay alive. Well, we're going to do whatever. Look, like everybody here working for free. So, I mean, we're doing whatever it takes to stay alive. But give us a call, 713-526-5738. We cannot do it without you. Please hit the number 1. And if you need, if something that I'm saying is burning you up, whether you agree with it or not, that's not the important thing. The important thing is for us to have the engagement and for our listeners to hear the engagement. Because if you have a thought, if you who are listening to me right now, if you have a thought, there are thousands of people who think like you as well. And we want to hear those thoughts as well. 713-526-5738. I'm almost wondering if the phone is working. 713-526-5738. Give us a call. Don't be shy. I am a nice guy. Aren't I a nice guy, Stuart? Am I going to give anybody a hard time, Stuart? Or are we going to have an engaging conversation?
No, you're totally respectful, Alberto. And I think absolutely people should call in and engage.
Yes, 713-526-5738. And also call and let's get those contribution lines open, my dear folks. 713-526-5738. Hit the número 1 para contribuir. That's number 1 to contribute. Número 2 para hablar conmigo. Number 2 to speak to me. And you know what? Guess what? I'll even talk to you in Spanish, man. You want to talk some politics in Spanish that you don't feel too comfortable in English? I'll talk to you in Spanish too. 713-526-5738. Come on, man. Give me a call. 713-526-5738. I guarantee you we'll have a good conversation. So let's get busy, folks. Hey, Sandy, look like you want to say something. Talk to me, Sandy. Háblame. Tú sabes que tú puedes hablar cuando tú quieras. You can speak whenever you want, man. There we go. Oh, there's a mic. This one right here. Yeah, there you go. All right.
Yeah, it seems to be working.
It's working, man.
How about that? Something in here worked.
Hey, hey, Sandy, don't make us look so bad, man.
It's not all broken.
Not only that, if you make us look bad, you're looking at yourself. You're the manager, dude.
I know. I look at the wiring and I wonder. Folks, we are in Fund Drive. Egberto, I've been listening upstairs. He's been very passionate with his plea for you to call that number. He's wondering, is the phone broken? I'm just kind of wondering the same thing, which is why I came down here to see if it really was, but it appears to be working. You've got to make it work, though, in the way that it rings so that we can see your contribution. It's really important that KPFT gather the funds it needs through this fund drive to get us through the end of the year. We're talking about the rest of this month, November, December, and really January. So we're collecting money now for November, December, January. Traditionally, and almost without fail, we will come back to you in February. But between now and then, we're not going to do this. Egberto, is this your favorite thing, the fund drive?
I hate fund drives.
You hate it. Wait a minute, because there's no more kolaches? Is that right?
You remember we used to have kolaches, man?
And donuts, yeah. Those Shipley's that we got those from doesn't appear to be open anymore.
Man.
It's now a wing place.
Oh, really?
Yeah, maybe they'll donate wings for breakfast. I don't know. but folks, the point being is that none of us that do the on-air programming, we're volunteers from the community. We've got a program to bring you. I do a music show on Saturday. Egberto's here Monday, Wednesday, and Friday with Politics Done Right and his call-in segment, which you can do that right now and be on the air with us. Tell us what you appreciate about KPFT, what you don't appreciate about KPFT.
Or whatever you want to talk about.
Yeah, or whatever you want to talk about. But, we want to hear that phone ring, get you on the phone. But more importantly, today, when you call, there's a prompt. It says push 1 to donate or push 2 to be connected to the studio. Make the call, push 1, get the donation out of the way, and then call back and talk to us on the air here. It's a good way to do it. It's the superhero approach to dialing, where you do both. You do everything, 1 and 2, like a superhero. Right?
There you go.
Yeah.
Let me tell you, folks, it's worth it. And you know what's the best thing, Sandy? And I tell it people all the time. You know, a full-time activist doesn't pay well. So, but I as an activist, I still believe in supporting each other. So you know, I support probably 20 different organizations with, if not more, with very small contributions, because we know the importance of keeping these organizations alive. Because again, we don't have the corporate benefits or anything like that. So if you call 713-526-5738, consider giving us a couple of coffees a month or something like that. Go ahead and take whatever you can, because again, you are making a difference. If you're giving us $5 a month, $10 a month, $15 a month, $20 a month, whatever you can, it's just like giving us a cup of coffee a day for something that is leveraged way further than what you think, right?
Or if it's $10, it could be a kolache and a cup of coffee a day. It's even better. And that you feel like we don't have phones ringing on the table, right? I mean, we're now using a service. So there's quite a bit different about this studio and the way we're operating now. And as a 25-year plus veteran of KPFT, you know, change is inevitable. It's inevitable with everything and everybody around us. And change happened here, but I think this is a change for the good in many ways. We've got a community media station here, you know, but to keep it, we need to fund it. So please call 713-526-5738. And when you do, be as generous as you can, because what you're supporting here is the idea that we don't need commercial sponsors dictating the content. You know, Egberto, you talked a lot about Medicare and supplemental programs, the Advantage programs that are around. And you brought to light a number of issues that are becoming more mainstream media. Maybe you scooped them, I don't know. But the point being is that there's a lot here to consider. When you turn on commercial television, cable news in particular, you are bombarded with Medicare supplement ads, especially this time of year during open enrollment. You are bombarded with pharmaceutical ads all the time. Some side effects, consult the small print at the bottom. And through that, those channels that accept those advertisers are also told by those advertisers, look, the stuff that Egberto's talking about with the possible fraud in the Medicare system, how can this be? Don't air any of that, because, you know, don't look at the man behind the curtain. We are giving you a view behind the curtain with KPFT during this program. We're giving you a view behind the curtain musically with programs like the one that preceded this, Wide Open Spaces, and the ones that will come later today with Jazz Latino and Susan Darrow's Border Radio, and on into the evening hours with People of Earth and Dr. Simotis, on call with Dr. Simotis tonight. This interesting lineup, this diamond, this polished diamond with all these facets, rotates every day and revolves around every week. And you get the benefit of that. And if you're not contributing your part, you're depriving everybody else, possibly depriving everybody else of keeping this here. This is serious business. We were up to $61,000. Thank you to a lot of people that made that happen. But we've got about 89,000
more to go
to make this goal. So I don't know if we're going to actually hit the goal.
No, we're going to hit. I'm positive. Let me tell you something, Sandy. You said something important right there. And people, it's subtle the way you said it that I think people need to say. You notice, I still mistakenly always say, support this community radio station. And even though I've been believing and doing much more than just community radio station, and Sandy hits the nail on the head when he said, support this community media station. Right now, we're back on air on 90.1 FM, of course, but we're also at kpft.org. So I want to ask you, if you want to contribute, you don't have to make that call. You can also go to kpft.org and do remember to select Politics Done Right, so that Sandy can say, oh, I guess it's on Politics Done Right.
Well, if you use your phone, they may be tracking you. So
I don't know, man. You know more about that than I do. I don't know. But
no, I really don't know much at all about that. I just know that when I say something in a room about, I need a cup of coffee, next thing I know, I got ads for coffee on my phone. You know?
I know it's amazing, isn't it? But folks, call
they're
us.
Not listeing. They tell you, no, not doing that.
I can tell you about a place in Denver where all that big cable goes in. Folks, call 713-526-5738. Again, that number is 526-573. Hey, Sandy, I want to talk a little bit about inflation real quick. This is going to be a 5-minute segment here that I'm doing on inflation because I need you all to hear this. I've said it before, but I need to repeat it again. And it goes this way. Do you remember when you saw $5 a gallon gas in Texas, $7 a gallon gas in California? Remember that. I want you to remember that. I want you to also note that at no time did anybody go to any gasoline station where there was no gasoline. All right. I also need you to know that Americans did not reduce the amount of gasoline that they purchased. Actually, it declined about 2% or something, but that's inconsequential. I need you to understand those three factors. For all practical purposes, we did use less gasoline. For all practical purposes, whenever you went to a gas station, there was always ample amount of gas. And the last thing I want you to understand is, in as much as Russia's oil was placed on don't buy Russia oil by the United States, India, China, and other places were always buying Russian oil, which means if they're buying Russian oil, they're not buying it off of the legal market, if you will, which means there's ample supply of oil in this legal market. Also, I need you to understand that America has been is oil positive for the last several years. In other words, we produce more hydrocarbons than we need, which means we export hydrocarbons. Why am I telling you all of this? They would like you to believe that the reason oil prices are high is because there was a shortage. That's the media story. That is all these other stories that you're hearing on the market right now. So therefore, if that's the case, you can put blame onto some politicians in office right now. Oh, they're making your gas high. I hear them speak on TV all of the time. Oh, Democrats are in trouble because people see their bills, their gasoline bills, and they see their bills at the grocery store every day, and it's in their face. As you leave your home, you can actually see that big sign that says $5 a gallon gas, or gas went down to $2.85 and it's back up to $3.19. You can see that, and things are going crazy in the world again. And you want to blame, right? You can't blame but those people who have price and power. And who are those? The gasoline manufacturers that have no reason for oil. I'm going to do a little economics. You also got this in the books that I talked to you about, and it's quickly here. When gasoline prices go up, you would think it's because of a shortage. That's not the case. But also, gasoline manufacturers don't want to keep the price so high that something in economics called demand destruction occurs. What that means is as follows. If I put gasoline so high, I'm going to trade my Gustler in for a little car. And if I trade my Gustler in for a little car, forever now, my gasoline footprint is that of that little car. In other words, whereas for months, I would be buying 20 gallons of gas, now for months, I'll only be buying $10 of gas. And since a car or a truck is a long-time investment, it means that the gasoline companies lose all that 10 gallons that I'm never going to purchase again because I have a smaller car. That's called demand destruction. So the way corporations work, these companies, they price something as high as they can, as long as they can, until they see demand destruction. And that's what they're feared of. So when you saw that big drop in oil prices, that was to abate demand destruction. And as soon as people got comfortable again, they are not going to trade in their SUV. They're not going to trade in this after all. Then they start to creep the price up again because they abated demand destruction. So what I'm trying to tell you folks is as follows. They knew that you got 3 stimulus in the last 2 years. $1,200, $600, $1,200. You got the stimulus. They knew that even though you got pissed when you saw those high prices, that you had money in your pocket that you could still spend. So what the oil company says is the following. I am going to take all the money, extra money that you have away. And then when I take that money away and you have already spent it, then I'll drop the price so that demand destruction does not occur. Same thing, right? They abated demand destruction. Now, the same thing occurs with food and all these other issues. Before you get a taste for the chicken and you learn how to cook the chicken with new spices in such a manner that it tastes a lot better than the steak you were used to for a while, and now chicken becomes a good staple, just then they'll drop the price. You see, the idea is between those who control prices and those who don't. And those who don't are never allowed to accumulate wealth. They will never be allowed to accumulate wealth, because as soon as you get a break, they know that you didn't spend a lot of money in 2020 or in 2021. Why? Because there's a pandemic, you weren't going out to eat and all of that. So a lot of that money that you normally would have spent is now in a bank account. And if it's in a bank account, that means you have money. And if you have money, they can take it away. And how do they take it away? With this magical thing called inflation. And then they create a big lie around inflation. It's a lie. The inflation isn't caused by solely by a supply chain problem. There's a bit about that, and I explained to that about China, hurricanes, and overseas. If they have a problem, it affects us because we have just-in-time inventory, etc. But the major cause of inflation today is the corporations having private power and saying, I know you have money. I won't allow you to keep that money because the things that I'm selling you want. And if you want that, you are going to spend your money. That's why I believe in bifurcated economies. In other words, the things that people must have should not be in the private sector. The things that people want should be in the private sector. Or rather, people that people can do without should be in the private sector. That's the only thing that belongs in the private sector. Because otherwise, we have private corporations that hold Americans hostage. And right now, inflation is the chain that's holding you hostage. We have a lot more to talk about that over the next several days, but I want you to keep in your minds that most of what you see about inflation on TV, most of what you see about gasoline on TV, they are nothing but misrepresentation and lies. 713-526-5738. Folks, you get good information here. I ask you so kindly, give us a call, hit that number 1, and contribute to this program, contribute to this station. 713-526-5738. We just could not possibly do that without you. We need you right now to give me a call, 713-526-5738. Hit the number 1 to support us, and we will be right there and ready to take your contributions. A real quick thing, I mentioned the 3 books. As I see it, Class Warfare, The Only Resort to Right-Wing Doom is a $120 contribution. It's worth it. How to Talk to Your Right-Wing Relative Friends and Neighbors, a $120 contribution. And How to Make America Utopia is a $120 contribution. Get any of the 2 of those books for $200. Get any 3 for $250 contribution. So give us a call, 713-526-5738. I'm coming close to the end time, so please make that call now so that I can see it pump up right here on the screen. And I want to say thank you. So 713-526-5738. I am sure you want to support our program. 713-526-5738. We cannot do it without you. I gave you 3 stories today. 3 important stories today. China, not only with Taiwan, and inflation. 3 important stories, even through Fund Drive. So please give us a call. 713-526-5738. We just cannot do this without you. And America is yearning to be told the truth. America needs to be told the truth. America wants to be told the truth, not just what the corporate sector wants to feed them. 713-526-5738. We just cannot do it without you. Please call now. Hit the number 1, 713-526-5738. Notice again, we gave you a program, we gave you 3 topics, and we gave you the full the full Monty, if you will, 713-526. We only have a couple minutes left, folks. 713-526-5738. Hit the number 1. I'm waiting. I tell you what, even as I'm driving back to Kingwood, I'm going to have our checker up there. And if I see your name, and if I'll find a way to get to thank you today. 713-526-5738. Hit that number 1. Need to hear from you. 713-526-5738. Hit that number 1. We're waiting for you. We're waiting to talk to you. I know you're out there. I know you like what you're hearing. I know you want to support us. Make it be a coffee a day or a one-time contribution. Make it be a couple of coffees a month or one-time contribution. It's all on you. 713-526-5738. I got 1 more minute, so I know I'm going to hear you guys calling in now. 713-526-5738. 713-526-5738. 713-526-5738. We can do it. We can do it. I'm going to get that 10-second notice soon. So I'm going to keep calling the numbers until I get that 10-second notice. 713-526-5738. Folks, you can do it. Folks, my name is Egberto Willies. This is Politics Done Right. And you know how I end this, baby. I am what? Out. We spend a lot of time deconstructing the news, trying to parse it into a form that everybody can understand. We try to find those little nitpicks where it flies above the fray, etc. If you really like these videos that we do, I want to ask a big favor. Please go ahead. Number 1, subscribe to our channel. And number 2, please join if you can. Thank you so kindly for watching. Keep watching. Please remember to share. We must populate the entire internet with our progressive message, a message that we know is what most Americans say that they want. So help us, please join.